Welcome to Champion Minded, the podcast for those who aim for excellence, not only in the sports arena, but in life. My name is Allistair, author, speaker, mindset and performance coach, and my goal is to help you unleash your unlimited potential and provide you with the tools to achieve greatness. Are you ready to become champion minded? Then let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome to the Champion Minded podcast, or welcome back to it. I'm Allistair McCaw. In this episode of People with a Passion for What They Do, I have Hollywood actor Brad Benedict. Brad was born September 13, 1985 in Atlanta, Georgia, and is an actor and producer. He's known for The Oval, which is Tyler Perry's Oval, Too Close to Home, Broken Halos, and more recently, Shark Academy. Now, in this series, People with a Passion for What They Do, I get to interview some high performers and successful people who love what they do. I want to dissect, I want to get into their mindset of what makes them tick, what most they're passionate about in what they do, and also to offer some tips on others out there who maybe want to pursue the same career or passion. So a little bit of background on Brad. We actually met on set in Los Angeles about 6 years ago. I think it was 2015 or 2016, where we were recording some shows for the tennis channel, and we hit it off straight away. Super sporty guy, positive, great energy, very professional in his work ethic. And, we've stayed in touch since then. So I really wanted him to get him onto the show, somebody that is extremely passionate about what he does. In this episode, you will see how Brad opens up. He's very authentic. He's very honest. He shares his vulnerability, which I really greatly appreciated. We talk a little bit about how he got into acting, into producing, a little bit of his experiences as well, being on the show Tyler Perry's Oval, and of course, more recently, Shark Academy. We talk about some of his other interests, what it takes to be successful in the industry, and so much more. As always, guys, I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your reviews on iTunes. Thanks so much to every single one of you who have left one. And please, if you enjoy this episode, share it with friends, colleagues, or anybody who could maybe benefit from it. So without further ado, this is Brad Benedict. Brad, welcome to the podcast. It's People with a Passion for What They Do.
Awesome, Allistair. Thanks for having me, man. It's so great to catch up after I think about 6 years when we met. So happy to be here, man. Thank you. It's funny. I was just about to call you up, and I told my girlfriend, I was like, and this is totally true. I was like realizing how excited I was to get to chat with you, because you feel like a buddy. But I was like, this is the guy on the internet that inspires me more than anybody else, and wow. I truly mean that. You've seen my reposts of your stuff, and I just feel like you're on a wavelength that makes sense to me, man. And so I'm really pumped to get to talk with you. And again, I was kind of reviewing some of the potential topics we might get on, and realized how this podcast is going to be a gift to myself. I'm going to go back and listen, because sometimes it's hard to get that perspective. I could give great advice, but I'm not always great at taking my own. So I'm excited to talk to you, let all this out of my brain that I know is in there, and come back and listen to it and use my own lessons. So
tell us where it all started for you, how your journey began.
So I was born in Norcross, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, about 20 miles north of Atlanta. And I'm the youngest of four. My whole family's still in Georgia. I was in the same house, I think, for my first 30 Christmases. And recently my parents moved to kind of their retirement spot in Georgia. But so Georgia boy, played tennis my whole childhood. My dad was a tennis coach, and so ultimately that led me to playing tennis at the University of Georgia. I walked on the team there. So that was a big victory, even just to get a spot on the team. And often I was warming the bench, but I found I became a role player and realized that, you can contribute even if you're not on the court. So that was an amazing experience that shaped me, made me, kept me humble, or maybe taught me humility. And then I studied finance in college, and I actually was proud to have won the Joel Eves Scholar Athlete Award. So going into my senior year of school, I had the highest GPA of all male athletes at the University of Georgia, studying finance, which ultimately, so 2008 would have been my senior year. In 2007, my tennis team won the NCAA championship, led by John Isner, who's still a top dog out there in the professional tennis world. And then 2008, my senior season, when I may have actually been able to play a dual match, I ended up having enough credits and had a chance meeting with somebody out in Hollywood. So I ended up graduating college in 3.5 years, a semester early. And I had this big investment banking job that I had been offered. So I accepted that offer, right? So I'm coming out 3.5 years, accepted an offer for a job that would start in August of 2008. And I graduated December 2007. So I said, I'm going for it. I'm going to follow this childhood dream fantasy. Maybe I could be an actor. I had done one play. So I was 22 when I moved to Hollywood. I had done one play in high school, my junior year, Bye Bye Birdie, booked or got the lead role, had 4 singing solos, song and dance, everything. But that was it when I came to LA. And I had just met, I had a chance meeting with a friend of a friend of my dad's, basically. So nobody really close. And we sat down at Starbucks, and she told me, essentially just made it, she showed me that it is possible to actually go and start from zero and book a little TV job and get a little bigger TV job and make it in the entertainment industry. And that was just that little piece that I needed to kind of fire me up to say, let's do this. So I moved out to Los Angeles in February of 2008. That typical story, a kid with a bag. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a place to stay yet. My dad actually came out with me for 5 days to help me kind of get set up. Had a friend that was supposed to make the move with me, and he chickened out. So my parents bought me a plane ticket and said, you're leaving in 2 days. We don't want you to have any what ifs. Like, you got to go do this. And these are parents who would have been totally happy if I had that secure finance job, but they also were really supportive of me. If I was going to put work in, they were going to support a dream. So yeah, that got me out to Hollywood, and 6 months later, I had to turn down and call the Wall Street job and say, I'm not going to show up. I'm in California pursuing a dream. I hadn't really had much success by that point. I think I maybe had one tiny little role in a friend's project, and I had found my way into SAG, into the Actors Union. So that was about it. And then I just put my boots on the ground, and it's amazing thinking back to that time. If I could be who I was back then, that hungry, fully hungry guy, and putting in all the work each day, just looking for solutions, meeting people, getting out in the field, I think my career could even be in a stronger place right now. And I think I could be in a mentally more stable place. But that's why, as in the kind of tennis world, we have Nadal, Federer, Djokovic. And what I look up to them most is that when they're on the top, they can keep getting better. And too often, I fall into that category of people who, when I have that big piece of success, then I get comfortable, have to get into a pit and have to pull myself out. And, so I'm definitely working on, when I'm at the top, figuring out ways to support that and stay hungry and stay at the top. But yeah, so it took me several years. I slowly started building up acting credits. I got into the best classes I could find, surrounded myself by people who were doing it. And slowly but surely, I kind of, I guess, gained the respect of the powers that be. And in 2015, you and I met, and it was a show called Fit to Hit. And it was on the Tennis Channel. And I had never hosted a show before. And frankly, I mean, don't tell the union. It was a non-union gig, and I was already in the union. So technically, I wasn't even supposed to be doing it, but it was my shot. The producers came to me and said, we want you to do this show. It's a fitness weekend warriors type show. We're going to teach the weekend warrior tennis player how to stay fit in ways that are fun. And at the time, I was coaching CrossFit. It was my side gig for about 5 or 6 years. I coached CrossFit, which was hugely shaped me in a huge way, having to lead people, having to be up there. yeah, so that led me in 2015 to hosting the show Fit to Hit. And that was a huge, huge breakthrough too. Didn't make a lot of money. We were shooting a lot of stuff guerrilla style on the run, but it gave me a chance to like have all eyes on me, in a sense, with the cameras, and kind of have to have the strength to hold up that show. And that was a huge turning point for me in my acting and just on camera career. And the next year I booked my first series regular job as a regular cast member on a show called Too Close to Home with Tyler Perry. And yeah, since then there's been some peaks and some valleys, but ultimately my trajectory has been up and kind of slowly getting into that exponential rise. One thing leads to the next, you get a positive feedback loop going, and then you're on a wave. So
I mean, that's yeah, incredible, because what I'm picking up is you didn't go to an acting school, when you were younger, like, which is the traditional route of a lot of actors. You've chosen probably one of the most competitive industries in the world. I mean, the dream of many kids and people is to go to Hollywood and make it. And we know that it's maybe 1 in 100 million that make it. But by the sounds of it, obviously, you've been persistent. You've submerged yourself in the right environments. You've surrounded yourself with the right people. You're obviously a person that goes out and makes it happen. And that's obviously one of the things that, we try to get across on this podcast, is that champion performers, it doesn't matter if it's in sports, if it's an entertainment business, are people that make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only way. And it can be exhausting sometimes to have to like fire yourself up and be your own boss, or the person, you have to inspire yourself. But for me, it's the little baby steps. If I can take a little baby step, that's why I love going to the gym, frankly, like, and following a program. I like a program. I like little steps that show me if I can just do this today, then tomorrow I can do a little bit more, the next day a little bit more, and I can grab hold of that. But sometimes when I still get locked up is when I look at a big picture and it just overwhelms me. I'm literally sitting here for days, and I know it's a weird kind of comparison, but with my taxes. Oh, I hate doing taxes, but I think of it as this big mountain, and I'm like, dude, just go look at January and look at your expenses. Get 1 month done, no problem. And then all of a sudden I feel good and I'm excited, and then that leads to more energy. And it's just funny how taking one little step each day. I loved there's a little kind of fable or saying, and there's a donkey and he's in a well, and he falls in the well, and they're like, well, we better just bury him, he's going to die. And so they start throwing dirt on top of this donkey, and each day they throw dirt on him, he shakes it off, and he takes a little step up. And I think when I'm living my life that way, it's and each day going to bed feeling like I've grown in some way, shape, or form, gotten a little uncomfortable, then the big things happen, like it doesn't all have to be like this slow rise, but if you're willing to take the slow rise and put in a little bit of work each day, believe that things that might not seem like they can have any impact, they are having impact. And then all of a sudden, boom, the explosion happens. So, yeah.
So basically you're saying, it's about just keep putting in the work, set daily goals. You're someone that obviously likes to work with structure as well, but, just keep taking steps, just with regards to the donkey analogy in the well. I have one where, you don't need to see the top of the mountain. You just need to take the next step. And I think that's what so many of us lose track of, is that we're just saying, wow, that I'm never going to reach that. That goal is too big, for example. And, I'm doing what I love today. And it's something I dreamt of or have a vision of years ago of what I'm doing, is possibly being an author and being a speaker and speaking in front of large audiences. And that was a vision for me. That was something I had many, many years ago. But getting back to what this show is, what is it you are passionate about in acting and producing? What is it that really gets you up and fires you up?
Yeah, I think when I first moved out here, I wanted to perform. I liked being the center of attention and I like the rush of a performance. It's like, like an athlete going and playing it. It's fun. But what I've learned that I'm passionate about over time is collaboration and creation, and just getting to be creative. It is so painful. Oh, the idea of sitting and trying to get creative, literally, that writer's block thing is so real. But if you can get past that discomfort and just sit through it, let the ego fall away, whatever, get into that right brain space, all of a sudden it's completely on the other side of that coin. It is freeing, and it's alive. And so I think my number one thing that I love entertaining, but my number one passion is collaborating and creating. And then I really do love the idea of accomplishing something that people think is impossible in a sense. So the idea that being a professional actor it's like, come on, that's a needle in a haystack. Well, then that's a really fun challenge to go and pursue. And so, I think ultimately you can keep boiling down my passion, and it's one about belief and hope and trust. And so there's nothing like accomplishing a goal that you've put your mind to, that looked, like you said, you couldn't see the mountaintop, but you put in that work, and it took you to the promised land. So
what's your advice for somebody that's, it could be an athlete, it could be someone that's, trying to get into the business world or entertainment world like yourself, but they're putting in all this work, but they're not seeing results. They're starting to become despondent. They're doubting themselves. The phone isn't ringing. What's your advice to them?
Okay. One piece of advice I got that really stuck with me was activity breeds activity. So that is so general, and I get that. Like, just get out there and do something, but that it can be that simple. Find a way to surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, or who that are a model of success. So for me, that was going and finding an acting class with people who were already working with an acting coach who was respected in Hollywood. And all of a sudden, you'd start to become like a part of the group. That imposter syndrome slowly starts fading away. And that's a big one, where you just, even if you have all the talent and all of the skill in the world for whatever arena you're in, it's hard to believe that you deserve to be there. So you got to go find ways to be in the group, be in the circle, and start to earn your place. But I think not letting yourself get into this position where you sit and you just overthink the mountain. And so for me, again, some people don't work the same way, but I like to create a plan that I can see. And even if I veer off plan, that's fine. But if I can see kind of like the steps that it's going to take to get to a goal, then it allows me to get moving. It allows me to put, to take another step, and then anything's possible. So you got to be running the race to have a chance to win. So many people don't even jump into the race, and they don't know it, like, for instance, a lot of actors come and get buried because it's expensive to live in LA, and they got to have a job, and one thing leads to the next. They're like, yeah, I'm out here. I'm an actor. I'm pursuing an acting career, but they aren't really doing anything on a daily basis to touch that, other than saying that that's what they want to do. So creating those rituals, that's another one. Just when I had a huge breakthrough, frankly, and that was 2016. I went into the year, I had a writer's group. So this is another example. I had a writer's group for years. Me and 5 other guys met every week, once a week. And I never wrote a script. That's what we were there to do. But I showed up. I kept showing up. I learned so much. I read hundreds of scripts. I gave feedback. And just being there, showing up, ultimately made me a far better actor. It taught me so many things. I had a group of people that I could go and bounce ideas off of. Holy cow, the writers group. I was going somewhere with that.
Don't worry. Memory doesn't get better the older you get, Brad. Just telling you that one. So
yeah. Oh man, where was I going with that? But
if I can come in there quickly, sorry, Brad, because you made some valid points here. Is that again? It gets back to that you made it happen. You didn't sit around and wait for your phone to ring. You submerged yourself in the right environment. You hung out with people. You had a little bit of imposter syndrome, which is a massive one. It's something I ask a lot of successful people, and 95% have had or do have imposter syndrome, as if to say, well, who am I to be here? But you have to push through that.
Isn't it crazy with like professional athletes who could have so much talent in the world, but because they're not comfortable recognizing that, that's what holds them back from that big breakthrough. It's just funny because I mean, dude, humans are crazy, the brain is crazy, energies and all these connections are wild. And so it's just that little bit of true self-belief of really truly trusting yourself that you deserve to be there, and then finding yourself getting into these flow states and all that. I mean, it could be all the difference in the world. So it's just funny that you could put all the training in, you could work on your fitness and your forehand, and it could all be there, but the last little piece, and this is where you come in, where you're such a valuable person, is like that last little piece is truly believing that you deserve to be there, and then letting all these skills just show themselves. And how to really get that belief, I'm still learning that. I mean, I think that's why practice is so important, and sometimes you can over practice things, and that can lock you up too. So like, there's not one secret, but what I love about your message so much oftentimes is that you're putting it in the hand of the individual. You inspire people to take control of their situation. And I just think that kind of empowerment can really keep you going when you truly believe, like, hey, what I do when I wake up today and how I start this day, how I finish this day, I'm the only one that's going to take me, to where I want to go. And I just think that's a really positive message just in general in today's world. Like, even when the world wants to beat you up, or you think that the table is set in an unfair way, still you have to be the one to go and step up to the plate and believe that you can make a difference, and put in the work and make it a practice. And that's the big one. If I make things a practice, then okay, there you go. My memory kicked back in. What I was saying earlier when I had my big breakthrough in writers group is, we were coming in January. What are you going to do this year? Like, how are you going to try to change things? And I realized, I said, I'm not looking for a result anymore. I can't do that. It is killing me. It's like, I can't try to make my dad proud and think that that's going to solve everything, right? What I had to do was focus on the methodology, on the steps, right, on the rituals. So I wrote a list: 30 minutes of guitar practice, 30 minutes of vocal lessons, 30 minutes of journaling. And I think there were about 6 things, and it took about 4 hours. I said, just going to do these things and trust that all that energy goes into the system. And I do believe this, like, whether you're lifting weights or, putting in mental energy, that's energy. It goes into this machine. Somehow, some way, it has to come out the other end. So yeah, I just focused on that for a while, rather than getting so stuck on where it was going to take me. I had 5 or 6 things on a daily basis I was going to do. And within 4 months, my entire life changed. I trusted the process and created practices and rituals. I think it probably got me more present. I was wasting a lot less energy just questioning what I needed to do. I gave myself something and said, I trust that practicing these things that I care about, some way, shape, or form, like all these ingredients, I don't know where it's going to take me, but it's going to take me to a place that I like, because these are all the things that I love. And it did.
So you're basically making those small little wins every day. I have this thing called the 4x20s. And it's achieving pretty much what you're saying there right now is 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of thoughtfulness, and probably the funniest one, 20 minutes nap in the afternoon, because after lunch, I switch off the phone. I go into a room where there's no electronics, no noise. And basically, I don't necessarily sleep because it's only 20 minutes, but I just shut down the brain because, we have so much distraction. And like you said, we're overthinking a lot of the time. And I can tell you that that 20 minutes, which I'm actually going to have after this episode, helps me just be more focused in the afternoon, because high performance is about being, alert, being as focused as you can, let's just say when you're awake. And that's something that changed for me. So just what you were just saying there now is, break it down into little things. Like you said, 30 minutes guitar practice. You probably go to gym at least an hour a day. All these small little wins are what, accumulate to the bigger one. Just moving on, Brad, what are 3 things that you could say that a person needs to be successful in your industry?
Whew,
and I'm sure there are 3 things that are probably, relate to other industries as well.
Yeah. Let's see. I think the biggest one, this is a little bit tricky because it's not as simple as just go do it. So this will be a little bit more broad, but being comfortable in your own skin. And that there's a lot of ways to do that. You can create processes to do that, I believe. But yeah, when I am just me and loving me, and usually I love me when I know I'm putting in the work, when I know I'm eating right, when I know I'm taking care of my body, whether, going to therapy, or just chipping away at my artistic goals, all that allows me to just walk with my shoulders back, and straight up. And there's a book called 12 Rules of Life, I believe, by Jordan Peterson. And the first rule was walk like a lobster, with your shoulders back and tall. And all of a sudden, that whether you're doing it because you're forcing it or you're doing it because you have that confidence, it gives you this, it helps you work from a place of confidence and belief. So I think that's like the ultimate pinnacle. I think creating a plan for me, that I can literally check off boxes on a daily basis. So I need a physical plan, to take a baby step every day. So I need to go to bed knowing that somehow I checked off a box within my overall plan. So even so I can't see that mountaintop, but I know that I've gotten closer, right? So that gives you kind of the stamina to keep moving forward, and it keeps you staying fired up. And yeah, and then I think a third one would be, gosh, there's so many important ones, but
I definitely love those first 2 that you've listed.
Mimic what you want to be. Why I like that one is because I can think too hard sometimes, and Rafael Nadal is just, he's a one person in particular. He's a hero of mine, and so I love reading bios, Arnold Schwarzenegger's bio, but looking at some of these people who did it and just say, okay, like, I'm going to steal from them. Like, what do they do? And it allows your brain to shut off a little bit, because to be successful and really, be a dreamer and achieve those dreams, I think there's going to be a lot of thinking involved, and you can trip your own self up sometimes. So try to find a way to put it on autopilot. They say you are the 5 people you spend the most time around. That's true.
Jim Rohn.
It's tough it's tough sometimes to change those 5 people, or I believe in that. So yeah, mimicking people who have had the success that you want. And I think then you'll find all your own lessons. It just kind of takes the thought out and gives you a path to go down.
Man, I love those 3. I think those are 3 of the best I've heard on this series so far. So just for the listeners out there, the first one was loving yourself, accepting yourself, because really at the end of the day, You are your biggest project. It all starts with you. Second one, have a plan of daily action, something that keeps you focused, something that keeps you engaged. I like to use the word purpose. What's your purpose of waking up each morning? And then, of course, number three, as you just mentioned there, mimic what you want to be, which is important. And that's why it's important, I suppose, to have role models, or, that's a question I like to ask, especially students or young people, is who are your role models? Because I'm very interested to see what qualities or what traits they like in that person. For example, it could be LeBron James, it could be Serena Williams, whoever it may be. I like to know, like, why does that person appeal to you? Why is it? Brad, just two or three more questions. I want to be respectful of your time, but what would you say you've sacrificed to get to where you are today?
All right, hold. I need a 30 seconds before we get to that. Because you were just saying people who inspire you. So I just want to go back again to the tennis, and somebody who inspired me was Andre Agassi. And I love his book. If you've never read it, read Open. It's a great story. It's just interesting. But what I loved most about Andre, what ultimately I ended up loving most about him, was when he came honest about some of his drug use during his career, and it actually tore his career down. There weren't performance enhancing drugs. They tore him down. A lot of people want to say, oh gosh, and they wanted to criticize and not love him anymore and take away his achievements. But to me, I've seen a lot of things in my life with friends, family, myself. And so what I thought was so beautiful about his story that inspired me was he was human. He hit the depths of the depths, and he went from there and became the best he had ever been. And he put in harder work and he became better. So just because you fall, because you hit the mat, because you even are your own worst enemy, like, the beautiful stories are in redemption and triumph. And so that's something that I also realized in my 20s that I loved, is like, heroes don't have to be perfect. Heroes are flawed, but then they still have the strength to keep fighting. So that was that.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, vulnerability, how, we all have issues. We all have problems. It's human. But to have the courage to, really do what he did, for example, in the spotlight, and he faced quite a lot of adversity in his life, obviously, from being a boy. And like you just said, that's a great book if anybody hasn't read it, Open. But having the courage to come forward and admit those flaws, it's really, really inspiring. So things you've had to sacrifice to get to this point. You obviously said you had you could have gone into a good financial career as well. So
So I mean, I guess that's a sacrifice, but I consider that I'm just fortunate. So I respect people who are in that industry, but I was going into finance because I thought it would make me a lot of money, and it would have, frankly. Like, I did really well in school. I got a great job, signed my contracts, and as a 22-year-old, I was going to be making a six-figure salary and doing great. So there was a couple years when I first moved to LA where I thought, I was struggling making a dime. But ultimately I really always could see through that. And I was just like, I'm grateful though, because I could see how the golden handcuffs thing would become real. And then you don't even, you don't even realize what you're missing. So a big sacrifice for me is certainly not being near my family. I love my family, and I believe, that's the most important thing, or those are the moments that when I just sit and wish for something, I'd love to just be around the family and celebrating and smiling and laughing. And I've had to move across the country to do that. But with that said, I feel like you end up being able to connect deeper in other ways, and inspiring, following your dreams can help people that you love to follow their dreams, and ultimately, like, the world becomes smaller once you have some success. So, like, that's tough, but totally worth it.
Everybody wants to be successful, right? When I speak to a group of people and I say, hands up, who wants to be successful? Everybody puts their hand up. But the question is, how do you define success? And I'm going to break this down into two questions for you. How do you define success for your career? And how do you define success for your life?
Yeah, I think that's kind of sort of the existential crisis question that that remains, and I think it's actually a really good one to start to, I didn't always care or know or even think about that question, but again, you can see I like a little bit of structure in a world that has very little structure. So to kind of identify what success is helps you to get there, right? Helps you to create a path to get there. And so I'm still trying to define that big time, and I think that's something that I actually struggle with. I got at once upon a time where I'm at right now in my career, having being a regular cast member on a TV show, that was the goal and that was success. And if I had that and was making money and everything else would be okay. And that ain't true. I definitely am happy and super grateful to where I am, but you realize kind of what you just said, career goals don't necessarily translate into personal and vice versa. So I think that I need help figuring that out, frankly, Allistair. Like that, I think is the next step for me to be able to have more presence. And I guess that's the goal, to be able to be present in moments and enjoy where you're at and see the path that you're on rather than constantly living in the past and the future. And I still definitely struggle with that. So like the good days are really, really good. And the bad days are the tough days when I'm not occupied and my mind goes crazy. I still struggle and wonder what it's all about. So, ultimately I personally would love to have a family someday, and I'd love to have open, non-defensive relationships with the people that I care about the most. So personally, I think that's where I'm trying to get to, is like, I can appreciate you for you. You can appreciate me for me. We can both share our, where we're at, our beliefs and everything, but not need to try to change the people that you love and care about and people that you don't, right? Just live in harmony and try to inspire through my actions. And then career success, I think it has to go back to what we were talking about earlier, is the process. Is like, if I am putting in the little steps on a daily basis, if I'm getting creative, if I'm being willing to get through that discomfort, that writer's block, if you will, and get to a point where I'm actually getting these ideas out onto a page, on film, somewhere, and continuing to purge all of this, all of the stories that I have in my head, then everything else takes shape, right? So I can't think about it as an end goal personally. I have to continue to put it back to process, and then you can continue to enjoy it. So this is a great lesson, a really, really great lesson to say out loud too. So I think it reminds me for people to journal or talk to people. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but all of a sudden I start talking to you, and I start, journaled yesterday because I was actually having a struggle. I was struggling yesterday, knowing where to turn. I just came off my biggest projects I've ever had, three in a row, back to back. And all of a sudden I'm faced with all this time and so many thoughts are scrambling. So sometimes just putting a pen to paper or talking to somebody can help everything come out, and then you can organize those thoughts and make a game plan to move forward. So, I know that's not a clear directive or anything like that, but
no, it's it's fantastic. And Brad, I want to acknowledge you first of all for being, a good friend. Like I said, we met 6 years ago on set in LA, and you've been consistent, but I especially want to acknowledge you for your honesty. I want to acknowledge you for coming onto the show and being vulnerable and sharing, because people see you on the Oval, or they see you on Shark Academy or these TV shows, and they say, I want what he has, or I want what she has, where they just looks like the perfect life. Like we call the Instagram life. Everything is perfect. Everybody's on a boat. Everybody's in these amazing locations, but they don't see the other 95% of the struggle, so to say. So I just really want to acknowledge you for being honest with us and showing your human side.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I really appreciate that, and it's so true. But that's the beautiful thing is like if you can work through the discomfort, if you can get uncomfortable, you can grow a bit. You start to find a little bit of success just within that, just within facing your own fears and courage and stuff. Then everything else just kind of starts to take shape. So the tough times you can actually enjoy is my point. The hard work all of a sudden starts to become something that you crave, and that isn't miserable. It's just it's exciting, so get through that first hiccup spot where you don't want to begin, put in the work, and then the tough work starts to kind of be really exciting and rewarding. Running a sprint doesn't have to be only miserable. Running a sprint, man, you're going to get some crazy endorphins. You're going to be a little bit faster. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit easier. You're going to run down that forehand. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's better than dessert.
Well, talking about forehands and tennis, obviously we want to give a good shout out to our friend, Ricky Gonzalez, Coach Ricardo Gonzalez down in Florida Atlantic here.
Absolutely.
Big hi to him. I'm sure he'll be listening to this one, but just for our listeners and followers out there, where's the best place they can connect with you or follow you or see you on the big screen, so to say?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I definitely want to give that shout out to Ricky Gonzalez. He's down in Florida coaching tennis. His little daughter just won a Little Mo, which is huge. That. So yeah, I think that's, I know Andy Roddick and Marty Fish and these guys were playing the Little Mo. So that's a huge thing. And he was a great friend in college. So really proud of you and happy for you, Rick. And yeah, so right now I got a show on Discovery Plus called Shark Academy. I went and lived on a boat on November, December last year, 2020. And I shot a reality show fighting for a position to be a crew member on a shark research boat. I've loved sharks since I was a kid. I wanted to go for this. So our
listeners can't see this right now, but I'm just shaking my head because that would be the last thing I would want to do, Brad, is jump in a room with sharks.
Yeah, until you do it, and then you'd realize you loved it. It's funny for me. It all felt like a fantasy when I was there. I ended up, by the end of it, we were face to face with some, massive monster sharks with no cage, but we had spent 6 weeks learning how to get there. It was another reminder of the process and practice and all that. So we could get into that aspect of it. But what I loved, I didn't even mean to get into this. Sorry, I'm carrying on, but it was just so important. We didn't get to it in the podcast. Was like, I just mentally had a switch happen in my head. I was filming season 2 of The Oval. And I was like, dude, it's 2020 pandemic year. And I'm like, I want to go for my dreams. I don't want to wait any longer. I'm going to find a way to get on Shark Week. This has been a dream since I was a kid. I don't need to be on camera. I'll volunteer, whatever. And within 2 months of truly making that switch in my head and saying, I'm going to do this, I clicked on the right link, on the right profile, watching the right show, and everything just happened. When I truly recommitted after a downtime, I was turning 33. I hadn't worked in a year and a half in the acting business. And I said, what are you doing? I picked up a financial planning job. I said, you worked so hard to get to this place. Yeah, this show ended. Now just keep putting in the hard work. And when I went home, I quit this financial planning job. Within 3 days, I got a call from Tyler Perry to offer me 6 episodes of the show I hadn't even auditioned for. And so I have consistently, every single time I've had a big, massive breakthrough, it came from finishing something that I was committed and disciplined with, whether that was a 4-month program of just working out in the gym and counting my macros. Like, as silly as it may sound, it's not just a vain thing. Like, yeah, great, my body responded, but what really happened was I was rewarded. The energy of my life all of a sudden got into line. I was on a frequency that allowed me to be successful. Every single big job I've had has come after that. I in 2015, I shot a web series that I'd been working on for 5 years. It was, it wasn't even about making something that was going to sell anymore. It was about finishing something that my partner and I had started, and I had a huge breakthrough after that. So, yeah, just You got to make that switch in your head. You got to see things through. So if you want a change in your life, here's my little piece of advice I really love. If you want a change in your life, create a challenge, a discipline, something that you have to go from beginning to end, right? So a good one for me is a 12-week training program in the gym, because it's going to be hard. You're going to want to quit, but if you can just see it through, doesn't matter what happens to your physique, the heavens, the energies, the world will reward you. So you can create that. And so, yeah, Discovery Plus, go check out Shark Academy on Discovery Plus. It's 6 episodes, the first ever series for Shark Week. Every Tuesday night, 9 p.m., the Oval on BET. We are in the second half of our second season, and we got 22 more episodes in the can already for season 3. And it's a great Tyler Perry show that I'm proud to be a part of. And coming up soon, I believe it'll be in 2022, I got a movie called A Jazzman's Blues with Tyler Perry, the best movie I've ever been a part of, and that'll be coming to Netflix in 2022. And then anytime you want to connect with me directly, just go to Instagram at Brad Benedict, shoot me a DM, comment, whatever, follow, and I'd love to stay in touch.
Awesome stuff. Brad Benedict, thanks so much for coming on.
Man, such a pleasure to see you, Al. Appreciate it, buddy.
So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one with Brad. A massive thanks to him for coming on to the show. Make sure you check him out on the Oval or on Shark Academy. As always, this podcast is available on iTunes, YouTube, Amazon Podcasts, and via my website, allistairmccaw.com. All books available on Amazon. So remember, you were made for greatness. Now go do the work. Stay champion-minded.